Alright, well I'm going to do this review a little bit differently. This is part 2 of a two-part series for the Kato 1988 Orient Express. What I'm going to do here is kind of walk down the line through the cars and kind of talk about them as I do. Now, if you missed the first part, which is when I reviewed the engine, take a look back at that if you want to. If not, feel free to enjoy this one. Here are the boxes they come in. It is a two-part set. One has the basics and one has the extra cars. Very fancy box, as you can see. I think they look great and sharp and high-quality materials. Not that the box really matters, but yeah, you can tell it's definitely a Japanese oriented model from all the Japanese written all over it. If I slide out the case here, this is what they look like on the inside. Pop that open. Of course, this is where you can keep them. Although I keep them in a display case to show off their glory. But this is a nice quality box that they come in for purposes of carrying it around or storing or whatever you want to do with it. But yeah, I like the box, but the box doesn't matter. It's the look and feel of the set themselves. So as I walk through here, you can obviously tell there are lights in them. They don't come with that themselves. I put those in. Well, actually, two of them do have lights. The dining cars come pre-installed with their little dining lights in them. So there's two of those. There's one here, and then I got another one down here. Those came with lights. The rest I did have to put in myself. Came out pretty good. I really like them with lights. I think they're a lot better, so it's certainly worth it. But even then, like, overall, I'm giving it a 6 for the look and the feel. And I'll get to that as to why here in a second. Alright, well, here is all you get with the set. 3 fancy white cars there. I believe these two are the diner cars. You'll be able to see them a lot better up close when I do the inside view with the lights on. But yeah, 2 diner cars, and I think this is either a power car or another baggage car. But then you get 7 of these guys, which I think are the sleepers. I think. So you get 7 of those, baggage car here, and then you have a red fancy lounge car. Then you have another fancy diner car here, I believe, with this guy. And you get 2 more lounge cars, I think, maybe? So, 15 cars in all. One of the bigger sets you will find out there. Most seem to have 12 or less. From the overall look, though, I'm a little disappointed. It's not as fancy or as high quality as I would have initially thought or thought. There's definitely a slight cheapness to it, and I think a lot of these Kato cars tend to give that for whatever reason, even though I can tell they're well made. I just feel there's something just missing about it. For example, I have another Orient Express set, which I'll review some point in the future. But these are fantastically detailed, amazing quality, and these are from the 80s, I think. These also have lights, but the detail of the trucks themselves are just incredible when compared to this, which just feels plain, feels very basic, feels kind of boring, actually. I much prefer this style. Even though I know these are based on real cars that were really used, I still find them to be a little bit on the cheap side. So, you know, I wanted to like these a lot more, but honestly, I just don't. So with that too, you know, for the materials, since it does feel kind of cheap and even a little bit sticky and oily, I think it's the paint. I don't really know. But I'm going with a 6 there as well. I do wish they could be better. They should be better than what they are. And for that reason, I gotta give it a 6. Uniqueness, I think it is fairly unique. Now, if you notice, I didn't put lights in the baggage car here because I was one short of the 6-pack times 2 of 12 that I need 13 lights, so I just didn't bother with the back or the baggage car. But anyway, you know, it's still fairly unique. I think they did a great job on the detail. If you look inside, everything's kind of detailed out. Here's the sleeping cars. You can see the little beds in there. I kind of already looked at the dining car. There's little tables with lamps. There's a red car here for some reason. I think it's a lounge car. It's got little red seats. Pretty cool. Here's another little car. Looks like there's a long table in there for meetings or whatnot. I don't know what people did on the Orient Express as they made their way from Paris to Hong Kong. That seems like quite a journey. But you know, on the inside, I think they did a decent job. As detailed as you probably could in this tiny little N-scale set. And it's certainly, as you put the lights in, that really comes to light, for pun intended. So that's always good. But as for the uniqueness, you know, I think it is fairly unique. I'm giving it a 9. It is certainly not something you see every day, that's for sure. So, kudos to Kato yet again. Now the noise of all these running together, it's not the quietest, and if I pull it along, you can tell it's loud. Giving it a 3, it's not, I think it's just this, how many cars there are versus one individually. But it definitely has a loudness quality to them. Obviously, I liked them a lot. My cars and trains to be nice and quiet. Since there's no engine, there's no screech or anything, but still, like, listening to that all day, it gets a little loud. So, 3 it is. Alright, well here's the power test. What we're first going to do is crank it on up to full so you can see it with the lights, and then drop it back down to see where the dial sticks to when the lights just come on. So first, crank it on up. So that's pretty much full power there. Now we'll tick it on back until they just come on. I want to say right about there is probably the lowest they're going to go. And if you want to see what the dial is, there's where it's at. So the lights come on shortly after around that stage, which isn't too bad for 15 cars. When I'm running it around, it pretty much has to be more than that, because keep in mind there's no engine there. So, you know, the engine's going to suck up a lot of juice, obviously, but the fact that they come on about here shows how little juice they need to get going across all 15 engines. So, you know, usually I run them up in this range to get the full amount. So the fact that they turn on so low for power, I'm going to give it a solid 8. Now the good news is that these cars glide fairly easily, and it takes almost no effort at all to pull it along. So that's a great aspect of it. You can really pull all 15 cars with just about any engine that has any type of power. So from there, I'm giving it a full 10, because, like I said, it takes almost no effort to pull this along. Alright, well, we'll do another slow crawl test here for you. I think it looks pretty good. Unfortunately, I don't have DCC, so the lights don't come on. Certainly not at this speed. Every now and then you'll get a flicker or so if you're running slow, but for the most part, no lights. But it does look pretty good, so I'm still giving it a 9. It is a cool looking thing. you know, how good can a slow crawl go for coach cars, especially when you got a good engine up front that can do a slow crawl. You know, it's always going to look pretty nice and smooth. So yeah, 9 it is. Now, derailments, unfortunately, they do happen. I've had, whoop, it just went off right there. Of course, I'm pulling it. It does happen every so often. It's certainly not a guaranteed thing, but probably once every few hundred to 1,000 even, maybe, loops around the track. Something goes wrong and derails there. I gave it a 7. It's not that big of a deal to really call out, but it does happen, so I have to call it out. But luckily, it's fairly easy to get them back on the track, so when it does happen, it doesn't put you out for too long. But sad that it does happen, you know, at all. Now, every so often, I notice some of these lights become very flickery, if not turn off completely. And what you need to do is, well, kind of adjust the light itself. So, for example, this one that's struggling there, we'll take it. Kind of just pop it open. There we go. And it's this little piece here. So what you got to do is align it on these little connectors. Right here you'll see some copper connectors, and then this thing slides right in the middle of it. But the problem is it tends to slide around. It's not a snug fit. So you can maybe see right here the little connectors touching, but it's not super aligned. So that's what I think is giving it trouble at times. On the other side right now, you can see it's, if you can, perfectly aligned, but on this side it's completely off center. And like I said, I think that's what's causing the struggles with the lights. So I wish these were a little bit more snug and the system was more exact. But we'll see what happens when I put us all back together. And how you put in lights in Kato is fairly easy. You'll see on the inside here, there's little clips, and on the lights themselves, there's little, whatever these are called. And so you gotta align this with the clips on the inside. Now, for whatever reason, these lights were super long, and they didn't fit. So I had to chop off probably about this much so they'd fit in there. Now, I'm not sure if that's the proper way to do it, but that was the only way to get these Kato lights to line in. And you can see it slides in pretty easily once you chop that last bit off, because it wasn't going to fit. And then, of course, this part is what goes over here, and then you just kind of slap it back together like so, and you're ready to go. So we'll see if this this helps. Alright, got the re-railer here. Slide it on in. Oh, look at that. Much better. So sadly, as you saw and heard, you know, it has had its problems. The lights tend to flicker at times, and I think it's just because of a loose connection. Wish that connection built in would have been a little easier to clip on and stay on. Even running it around at fairly decent speeds, some of the lights tend to flicker. I don't know if that's just because I have so many lights drawing so much power, or it just ends up being a bad connection, which I think it has more to do with the bad connection, if anything. So that, combined with the every so often derailment, which was sort of taken into account under that category, you know, I got to give it a 6 for problems. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. Alright, now what did I pay for this set? As I showed before, it comes in 2 pieces. However, I believe I got both of them together on one eBay auction where I was the only bidder. I paid $375 for them. Of course, they don't come with lights except for the 2 over here that do. So I ended up paying another roughly $80 to put lights in them for a grand total of $455. That does seem like quite a hefty premium. I would have liked to get all of this stuff all said and done for under $300. I think that would have been a fair price. So I definitely overpaid a bit. I'm giving myself a 4 on this deal, but you know, I think I'm glad I got them. It's definitely a premium. You're definitely gonna pay for it, but it is a cool set. I got to give Kato credit for that. However, I think I did somewhat overpay. However, if you look on eBay today, they are going for over $500, and these are sets that don't have lights in them. So the fact that mine do, you know, that probably boosts its value by quite a bit. So who knows? One day maybe I'll end up selling these for more than I paid for it. Certainly that's what I'm hoping for whenever that day comes. I might be willing to give these up if for the right price. You know, I paid $455 for it, so if I can get $600-700 out of it, I'd be happy. I'd be happy to sell these for that. So who knows? Not that I don't enjoy these, because I certainly do. But you know, everyone has their price, as they say, and you know, that would be mine if the time ever comes. So yeah, here are the stats. Final total comes in at an even 70. Now, it's always hard to gauge passenger cars against real engines, but for what it's worth, this is 12 out of the 25 I've now reviewed. So kind of right down the middle, over an average of 64 overall. So it definitely beat the average. I'm happy to see the price and the noise really kind of bringing it down there, but everything else is pretty good. I'm happy I got it. I'm thrilled I have it, but I will sell it for the right price if should the time come. So that's it. If you didn't check out the first part of the series, go take a peek. It is the Kato official engine for this set. But for now, that's all she wrote. Stay tuned for more. Lots more to come. Let me know what you think below.